I'm standing here with Amber Krabach, and we are obviously at the King County Elections Building. And Amber, before we start the actual interview, can you tell us what's going to happen inside that building and why are we here?
Well, today at 1 p.m., King County Elections is doing their logic and accuracy test, where they show us essentially all of the process of testing the integrity and the security of the system. They run these tests to make sure that they're calibrated, that they're running smoothly, and that they are secure. And so we're here to observe that process, to ask questions. I have a number of people coming. I have somebody coming from my campaign to join me, and then we have a number of people coming from Houston GOP as well to come and observe that process. And we're anxious to ask some really some tough questions if we can. The process is pushed by King County Elections as assurance that the process is fair and accurate and secure. And we have some serious doubts about whether it actually shows that, or if it's essentially false assurance.
Okay, have you done this before?
I have actually never been to this to observe this test before. I've observed here at King County Elections a number of times. I've been, I think I've been an observer now for 2 years. I just redid my training so that I can do it another 2 years. And so this test in particular, I've never attended, and I'm anxious to kind of see what it's like. And we have a whole bunch of people that we're connected to that are tech experts, and so I'm anxious to hear the questions that they have from King County Elections officials, so that we can dig into how secure the system is and how reliable the test is for actually showing us that it's secure and has integrity.
Okay. I have a lot of questions about it, but I think what you've said is fine, because we'll see what happens. And what I'm expecting is it's supposed to be one ballot, one vote, right?
Right.
And so that remains to be seen. And I've heard a lot of different stories about what happens during the actual elections. That's kind of dodgy, as they say in England, but we're going to see. So Amber, you're also here. Are you running as a candidate?
I am. I'm running in the 45th district for state representative. I believe it's position 2 again, which is what I've run for the last two election cycles, 2018 and 2020. This year's a little different. Instead of running as a Republican, I'm shaking things up a little bit, and I'm running under the title of election integrity. The goal being originally so that under my name it would say prefers election integrity. We have 5 or 6 of us that are doing this. We're running the same campaign statement, all of us, our candidate statement, in order to educate and bring awareness to the election integrity concerns that we have, and the inability for us to verify that our elections are secure and that they have integrity. Unfortunately, when we registered, they added the word party on, and they wouldn't let us change it. So it says Election Integrity Party, even though there isn't one, and even though I'm a Republican. But I've done this twice now, kind of the normal way, and I'm not one to do things the normal way if I don't feel it's effective. So we're going to shake things up, and we're going to try something a little different. Just want to make the public aware of the concerns that we have and the weaknesses we feel there are in our system.
Okay. What are your expectations as an election integrity candidate? Do you expect to win the election, or are you just trying to make a statement?
My expectation is to reach 500,000 voters in the voter pamphlet. That is all I want, is to be able to get our message out to the public this year. I would love to win. I would absolutely serve my constituents honorably and with integrity. I would be delighted to be able to do that. My top priority this year is simply to raise awareness that our system is incredibly weak and very vulnerable to exploitation, in my opinion, and that we don't have the ability to verify otherwise.
What are the vulnerabilities, very quickly?
So there are a handful. The one that I'm very, very concerned about is the fact that despite the fact that Washington State has been giving driver's licenses to non-citizens for over 2 decades, our Secretary of State's office has never run an audit of our voter rolls for non-citizens. And so we also have a number of non-citizens who have reported that they have been registered without their consent or their knowledge. We think it's happening through the Department of Licensing, possibly through confusion certainly not fraud on the behalf of these non-citizens, which means that they're essentially being put at risk of not being able to pursue citizenship in the United States because of maybe accidents that are happening or carelessness that's happening at the Department of Licensing level or maybe at King County Elections level. We're trying to get to the bottom of it. That's one area that we can't verify. Another one is ballot chain of custody. Your ballot is mailed out to you. You don't have to prove who you are when you receive it. You don't have to prove who you are when you turn it in. Anyone can fill out your ballot. Anyone can sign it and return it. Whether that signature is accepted or not is considered the stopgap at King County Elections. That's actually another area of vulnerability that's come to my attention even very recently as being a significant problem. We asked for cameras on the drop boxes because we aren't able to observe our drop boxes, which is another chain of custody issue. And we were flat out refused by King County Elections, and they said that we didn't need to have cameras because signature verification would make sure that nobody signed your ballot that wasn't supposed to, that you were the only one. The unfortunate problem with that is, and I replied to the King County Elections supervisor on this, about 6 months ago, 3 to 6 months ago, I came into King County Elections to update my signature, and when I did, they never asked me for ID. So anybody could have come in and updated my signature. Anyone can update your signature if they aren't consistently checking ID. 1,000 times worse than that, I found out on Monday, a couple weeks ago when I was here for election observation training. King County Elections is actually sending out voter signature update cards to an unknown number of people based on the areas that had the highest signature rejection rates. And that's where they're starting. They started this in May. They send out these cards in the mail. They do not verify who receives those cards. The cards can be mailed back. They do not check ID when you mail them back, of course. They're not checking for ID. Those cards can go to anyone. They can be signed by anyone. There is no verification. This is something that could absolutely devastate the integrity of our voter signature database.
Okay.
Absolutely devastating.
So when you came in here, you didn't have to present an ID. How was your signature verified with your address? If you don't submit
I told them my name, and they gave me a paper, and I signed the paper that had my information on it so they could update my signature.
And did they update your, like put it next to your address? Is that how they're checking this?
They didn't check anything. They took my word on it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I encourage everybody to come down in person and update their signature. Let me know if they ask you for ID. I'd love to have record on that. I do know of at least one or two. The reason I came down was because I had heard from other PCOs in my district or in my area who had come down and had not been checked for ID. So that's an area of significant vulnerability. The drop boxes, of course, is part of that chain of custody problem that we're having. So we're trying to make sure that we observe at the drop boxes the best that we can. Like I said, when we asked King County Elections if they would please put cameras on them, they absolutely refused. They would not put cameras. They said it was too expensive. They said it was
too expensive.
They couldn't do them all at once, and so it would constitute a violation of equal protections. But they're not doing the signature cards all at once. So does that like they have 2 months worth done? They're going to have an election, and only some of the people's signatures are updated. Now maybe they don't post those to the database until everybody's is in. I'm not sure. I have to verify that. But that's another area. The other areas that I think are significant are that we can't check any of the logs for our computer systems. We don't know. You can do a public records request to see who's accessing the servers, but they redact the name and they redact the information on where that person accessed it to, or to what they did with that information.
So it could be somebody from China accessing it and they wouldn't tell us.
Right, or it could be somebody here that's accessing something on the internet when a machine isn't supposed to be on the internet, or something like that. And these are things that we can't verify. It's not that we can't do a public records request for the information, it's that we can't verify what information there is. The same is true with the routers. We don't have access to any of the router information, the data logs, data trafficking logs, data passing logs. So we can't tell whether there are data packages being uploaded or downloaded. They're not allowing us to see information like that, to be able to it. We can't tell who's accessing the Wi-Fi routers.
Why would somebody access the server?
Well, our concern is that there are people who have appropriate access to those servers, and we want to verify that those servers are being used appropriately, that nothing is happening that's manipulative or nefarious. And what that does is that gives voters assurance of election integrity, that gives them confidence in the system. It tells them that, yes, if they make the effort to doorbell, or they make the effort to campaign, or they make the effort to get out the vote, to get their neighbors and their community rallied, if they share information, that they can make a difference. Right now, I think we're really struggling, particularly in the Republican Party. People are feeling like it doesn't matter what they do. There's a lot of apathy, a lot of disillusion. People are just very discouraged and not wanting to get involved, not even wanting to vote a lot of times, feeling like it just isn't worth it.
Okay, so last night you sent out an emergency Zoom call. Something happened between you and the King County Republicans. Can you explain that?
Yes, I can. So because King County Elections has outright refused to put cameras on the drop boxes, we're struggling to be able to observe those drop boxes effectively. King County has 76 drop boxes and I believe 7 vote centers as well. And in order to watch those 24/7, in order to make sure that we don't have issues with ballot trafficking, that we don't have issues with people that are exploiting our system, we would need probably an army of easily 200, 300, 400 people to be able to cover that comfortably, and we don't have it. So we're doing our best. We've spent the last couple elections with a team of maybe 20 to 30 doing, sitting in our cars waiting for 4 hours to see when the King County Elections vans come. We watch them as they transfer the ballots from the drop boxes into the vans so that we can make sure that it's done properly, that the right security ties are put on there. And so we've been doing that, and it's exhausting. And honestly, it's taught us a ton, but we don't feel there's a lot of fruit from it. It's not giving us confidence that process is secure and has integrity. So this year, without the ability to have eyes on those drop boxes through security cameras, I decided that I would create signs, make signs, and have them printed that said, this drop box is under surveillance. Accepting compensation for harvesting or depositing ballots may be a violation of federal law. I listed 2 statutes on there that I can't remember off the top of my head that I think apply to this situation. And I put a little QR code at the bottom and said, if you have any information or I said, please report any suspicious activity to give voters, give the public some confidence. Our drop boxes have always been under some type of surveillance. King County Elections comes down to check on them. There are cameras at a lot of the public areas, like city halls and things like that. And then our group, of course, has been coming to drive by, make sure everything's on the up and up, come and stay for the ballot transfers. So that type of surveillance has always occurred. This sign simply states why it is important for people to not accept compensation. In Washington State, it is perfectly legal for you to take your ballot, someone else's ballot, to the drop box, as long as you are not accepting any compensation, as long as you are not compensated for that, in particular by a political entity. That is not a problem at all. It is not unlawful. We want to encourage people to go out and vote. We want to make sure people understand that their vote counts, and that we would like them to have confidence that that their vote isn't canceled by unlawful ballot trafficking.
Well, what's this King County Republicans? What's their problem?
So when I did this was my project. This was something I wanted to do personally. I paid for it with my own money. I designed it. I got everything printed. I had some friends from my community of election integrity activists that I recruited to help me place these signs. And I was initially I was intending to make the QR code go directly to my own personal email address, and it was not working for me. I created one and it failed. I asked for permission from KCGOP Election Integrity Committee, from the chair and the vice chair, if I could please use the public website that we had set up that has essentially an affidavit form so that we can collect information about concerns people have on election integrity. People report things like, I got an extra ballot, my son got a ballot, he doesn't live here. This is an area, a website that we've been using for over a year that we intentionally set up for the public to be able to make reports. The King County KCGOP's Election Integrity Committee. We asked KCGOP to set that up for us. And I was the chair, I was the acting chair or the vice chair at the time. It might have been when we were in transition. And so, yeah, I was part of that. I was part of that group. I knew what it was there for. Now that I've stepped back from leadership, I made sure it was okay with the Election Integrity Committee chair and vice chair, and I went ahead and put it on there as a way for us to get these reports and make sure that KCGOP, or that our Election Integrity Committee, was aware of the reports that were made. Unfortunately, it made things very messy because it made things very messy for KCGOP's leadership. So yesterday morning, the Seattle Times did an interview with me to find out what was going on with those, and I was very frank and forthright in it. And Antifa got a hold of it and started, or I'm assuming Antifa, I should say, a number of people ended up sending false reports into KCGOP's website then, and it overloaded the system and essentially just caused an IT headache for them. And I believe the KCGOP chair received threats that he would be fined for the signs, and so he essentially shut down our organization, or he shut down our committee and dissolved it, and then he sent a cease and desist letter to me stating that I needed to take the signs out and destroy them. And so we had to have a meeting last night to figure out how to explain to everybody what happened, and then to figure out what we needed to do about it from there.
Okay, so have you taken the signs down? I mean, you must have a lot of signs.
Some of the signs, people have taken down. A lot of them, it looks like, have either been defaced or stolen. Right now, we are in process of actually printing new QR codes on stickers. We would like to keep the signs up, and we would like to just make sure that they point to my email address rather than to KCGOP's website at all. We're being accused of intimidating voters, and that is absolutely absurd. That's not what this does at all. It's very clear that this is only to deter unlawful activity. If you're not bringing your ballot because you were compensated to do so, you're doing just fine, and this is not something that you need to worry about.
Okay, so is King County Republican Party, are they trying to divorce themselves from election integrity, or they're just trying to divorce themselves from what your campaign sign and your thing?
So I believe Chairman Thomas stated that they still support election integrity, and that they're willing to work with King County elections and are going to work with them in the future. I'm not entirely sure what that means. I do know that Chairman Thomas has been meeting with Elections Director Wise for a number of months, and the chairman before him, Chairman Freed, did as well, and that they have refused to include election integrity leaders, the leadership for our committee, in their meetings, despite being asked multiple times. We've asked Chairman Thomas if he would please include one of our leadership board from the Election Integrity Committee in that meeting, in order to make sure that the questions that we have are asked and that we're able to follow up later on. He's refused to do that. He also just recently appointed himself to the King County Council Citizens Election Oversight Board, and we had asked for a number of months that he appoint one of our committee members who has been going to attending those meetings for a couple months now, and has been unable to speak because it wasn't an official appointment. We just found out that Chairman Thomas actually just appointed himself. So we were disappointed in that. We weren't sure exactly what was going on. That's one that I think we need to ask Chairman Thomas himself. I know once you kick the hive of the leftists, it can be brutal to be attacked. I've gone viral, I think, maybe, or semi-viral, 2 or 3 times on Twitter, and it is a mess. You get harassment, phone calls, emails. I have people trying to hack into my Facebook account, so I get a whole bunch of alerts that your password isn't working, and I know that it's somebody trying to hack in. So they really do harass you and try to intimidate you into silence for things like that. And so I'm hoping that KCGOP will stand strong, that they will resolve this issue with us, that we'll be able to just put a new QR code on there so that we can continue to provide some assurance of election integrity and security if we can. That's the best that we can do, and I'm hoping we can continue to provide that for this election and still have our committee up and running.
Okay, 2 last questions, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to. Do you think King County Republicans are pandering to the left on this? Do you think they're caving in, or?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I think that I do have concerns that decisions might be being made because KCGOP is concerned about not getting funding. So I do have concerns that might be happening. I don't have any evidence of that. It's an underlying concern of mine. And so that's something I'd like people to ask questions about and to inquire about, and I'll be looking into it myself as much as I can.
Okay, for people who want to get active in what you're doing and want to participate and help you out, how do we do that? Is your website still up, or is that?
So KCGOP actually just took down all of the Election Integrity Committee's website. I'm hoping that will come back up. I think the best way to contact me is to email me at amber@ak4wa.org. At this point, that is probably the best way to get in touch with me. Be patient with me as I'm dealing with a lot of information and emails right now. But I would love to hear from people. I'd love to have more volunteers. It may be that we have to run around in the space of about 2 days and get stickers on these signs, or put more signs out, or go and bring them all up. And so we really want to make sure that we do the best that we can to have volunteers run out and do that if we have to do it in a short time frame. So yes, if you are interested in getting involved, you can email me at amber@ak4wa.org.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time, Amber. Appreciate it. And so we'll head on in and check out the tabulation process.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt. Best of luck to you.